Aho, this is a member of the Voice of Reason. I'm coming at you. And today I'm going to be talking about irresponsible media. Irresponsible media is when you sit there and you do not pay close attention to the content you're putting out there. Case in point, the Discovery Channel show Storage Wars. That was a show right there that basically irresponsibly showed these men spending large amounts of money to take stuff to storage bins that have been expired, or people either abandoned it or people couldn't afford to pay for it anymore. And then they had a few episodes where some guys took people's family photographs and tossed them in the garbage. What you saw is these guys just enjoying a little bit too much, capitalizing on the misery of other people, and that's kind of the message they gave off. That was irresponsible and stupid. And in the long run, the Discovery Channel shut it down, and a lot of states passed laws banning that sort of practice. Now they do still do storage auctions, but they have to let the people go in and get their irreplaceable family heirlooms out before the rest of their stuff gets auctioned. Also, the Discovery Channel had to pay a large amount of money because they got sued by a lot of people. A lot of storage bins pretty much had to pay for that too. So really, behind the scenes, they kind of paid the ultimate price. Another one is dual survival. Joe Tedai, the guy lied on his application. They put the show Dual Survival out there, and unfortunately, there's a lot of amateurs or people who never spent a day in the woods in their life who, if they follow these same tactics, nobody ever actually pays attention close enough to these TV shows to actually think, is this going to help me if I'm ever actually in that situation? That's called irresponsible media, because those same tactics that those guys used, an ordinary person who's never been in the wilderness a day in their life might try that and get themselves hurt or killed. There's a lot of different things, variables that can go wrong in a situation like that. That's called irresponsible media. And when we sit there and put shit like that out there, you never know who's watching. There's always somebody watching. There's always somebody there wanting to sue. Always somebody wanting to complain. Always somebody wanting to file a lawsuit. There's always a politician wanting to pass laws. And unfortunately, when you put stuff out there, you never know who's listening. That's just a sad truth. But there's also there's also people who sit there. Who put responsible media out there who are harmless. However, there's a lot of people out there who do a lot of horrible shit. Who they never really consider the damage that they're doing in people's lives, or what politicians are watching. Who has an axe to grind? What rich person pretty much wants to capitalize on the misery of poor people? So these are a lot of different variables that people never really consider. And irresponsible media has always been a huge problem since the invention of modern media, since the dawn of radio and television. I mean, it's why they used to have a lot of rules and restrictions as to what was not allowed on television back in the day, because they wanted to respond. Back then they actually had a sense of what was called responsible media. Now, unfortunately, since the invention of the internet, they now have internet security. So, really, it's when you put stuff out like that out there, you never know. There's always going to be somebody out there willing to with an axe to grind, who wants to sit there and make life miserable for other people. And as somebody as a YouTuber myself, I have to be very, very careful as to what I put out there. I have to be, whatever I put out there, I am responsible for the lives that are affected as a result of my big mouth. I'm responsible for who around me may be maybe legally or practically or safety wise put in harm's way as a direct result of my big mouth. And if I'm not careful, I have to pay the consequences, the backlash of that. Just like the news, just like news reporters. You sit there and sensationalize a story. Granted, it may be a story. You may make a lot of work, but however, the lives that are affected as a direct result of you running a story in a newspaper or on a television network or on a magazine or on a tabloid. That pretty much, there's a lot of damage that's done in people's lives. For example, Peter Criss from Kiss back in the day, he was in the receiving end of that. The Star or the magazine or the tabloid put out a story that Peter Criss was homeless and drunk, was a homeless alcoholic. You can look it up on another YouTube if you really want to look it up. But there's another guy who is so desperate, and who is a homeless alcoholic, that he was so desperate for a warm bed to sleep in that he allowed them to let him say that he was Peter Criss and that he was a homeless alcoholic. And that was not the case. Funny part is Peter Criss wasn't even mad at that guy. He was actually felt sorry for the guy. He said, really, you picked some guy who was desperate and had him lie and pretend to be me just so he can get a warm bed to sleep in? How fucked up are you? Who the hell, why would you do that? Or another case in point, when talk show hosts like Wendy Williams, she sits there and rips on people and talks shit about people. These are people's lives that are being destroyed. It's not just the celebrities' lives that are being destroyed. It's also their family, their friends, their loved ones, the people that mentored them, the people that, it's everybody around them. Behind every one person, there's always a long laundry list of people who have to bear the brunt or have the backlash of irresponsible media as well. So, if someone's going to sit there and have media put out there, you have to seriously consider, is this a good idea or is this not a good idea? Unfortunately, that's the fucked up world we live in today. And until we learn to put out until we learn to swallow the idea of responsible media, we're going to continue running into problems like that. Or, or until we push somebody, another country, another foreign military so far that they decide to attack us as a direct result of our own stupidity. But yeah, the media makes up a good portion of what goes on in the world, and we do need to consider the long-term effects as to what our actions do and do, not just on a local level to every single American as a whole, but on the entire planet as well.